Well, the Golden State Warriors, I know I sound like a broken record saying this, are mired in a losing streak. It's now at 5. So who better to bring on the program and talk about what's going wrong and whether or not this is something that is we got to get used to, if it's just a losing streak and a blip in the overall grand scheme of things. And again, who better than Sam Gordon, Golden State Warriors beat reporter for the San Francisco Chronicle. This is one of those moments, Sam, where I feel like society needs to show some gratitude to legacy media, because without you, who's covering anything? Like, we don't know jack. So props to you for the work you're doing. And we're going to talk Warriors in terms of what's going right, what's going wrong. We're getting into it. It's the Golden Days.
They always find something to nitpick, and that's because there's expectations for us to win. It was a pretty crazy night.
Let's go.
In a minute, I'ma need a sentimental man or woman to pump me up. Come on and break me off. 'Cause I get what I want and I like what I see. If you got
Hey now, Sam Gordon is that. Welcome to the Golden Days. I am your host for the evening, Cyrus Saatsaz. You can follow me on Threads and Instagram at DogWild. I'm over on Twitter at Surf Journalist. Sam Gordon of the San Francisco Chronicle. He's traveling with the team. He covers the Golden State Warriors as well as anyone on the planet. You can follow him on Twitter at Sam Gordon. It's his name with the word BY in front of it. Super easy. Sam, before we get into this, got to give some love real fast to the official sponsor of Golden Days, and that is Bet Online, who continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, Bet Online provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen, with the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, college basketball, NHL, UFC, and so much more. Head to Bet Online today, and don't forget to use the promo code BELIEVE. That's the name of the network we're on. It's spelled BLEAV. Use that promo code for your welcome bonus on your first deposit with Bet Online. Bet Online, the game starts here. And again, Sam Gordon's available on Twitter at @SamGordon. It's super easy. Sam, great to see you, man. You just got back from, I don't know if harrowing is the right word, but it was rough. And the hours were long. How the hell are you doing, brother? Good to see you, man.
Man, good to see you too, Cyrus. I'm doing well. I appreciate you having me back on the show. I enjoyed my time in Phoenix and Denver, two great cities. Obviously, the Warriors went 0-2, but, right back to San Francisco for 3 games in 4 days. Schedule doesn't do the Warriors any favors. Got the Rockets coming to town. You got the Timberwolves, who have found their mojo, right? You see they're blowing out the Clippers right now. They found their defensive identity, number 1 defensive rated team in the NBA last year. They found their mojo. So tough 3-game stretch coming up for the Warriors before NBA Cup quarterfinal play next week in Houston. So a lot of moving parts, and we'll see if the losing streak ends.
Can you hear me okay, by the way? Did you?
I got you now.
Oh,
Yep.
sorry about that. That was
all good.
What happened there? Yeah, but my mic sometimes, the system just randomly will mute me every now and again. I don't know if it's a mic cable thing, but whatever. Sorry about that. I was just mentioning, I don't know when I got cut off, that, the positive in terms of other teams gaining their mojo, like you mentioned with the Timberwolves, the Warriors have lost it, but the positive spin I'm giving is that the hot start that they had, that is hot and good for a damn good reason, because they can get through this slide and still survive it, right? I mean, like if they win Thursday, we're going to forget this losing streak very fast. And just like that, they'll be 13-8. And the good start was a good start, is what I'm trying to say. It gives the Warriors some grace here in terms of the losing that's been experienced. But I was texting you on this road trip because I saw the Warriors do something I've never seen them do. And I love the move, which was, and I only knew about this because you were tweeting about it. And you do a fantastic job in terms of your social media activity, like with your Twitter account. You're giving insights. You're posting videos of the team practicing, which no one else can see that if not for you. And I thought it was fascinating that the Warriors, instead of coming home after the Phoenix game, they stayed on the road. I mean, that's not a long flight to go from Phoenix to San Francisco and then San Francisco to Denver. And unless it's happened and I just don't remember it, I don't recall the Warriors doing that. I loved the move. I know it didn't pay off. The Warriors lost what was a very close game, but maybe it wouldn't have even been close if not for the team acclimating to the altitude. You also saw the team playing a lot sharper than they have been. Again, even though they lost, there was a lot to take out of that game that was a positive. But what was your perspective from the fact that the Warriors decided to stay on the road? I mean, that was an unusual move. I don't know if you had to alter your travel schedule last minute, but give us your feedback, your perspective on this unusual yet what I thought was a smart decision in terms of travel.
Yeah, well, this is my first time doing either Phoenix or Denver. I started obviously on the beat in January, so to me, I looked at it as it's one time zone over and just a little extra time on the road with one another. And Warriors were able to have a practice out in Phoenix at Grand Canyon University, and then they got into Denver on Monday and had a practice at Ball Arena. So going to your point about being sharper, they were able to have two clean practice days, relatively like you said, short flights, so a relatively minimal amount of travel. And then I'm with you, Cyrus. I thought, they played well enough to win, to beat the Nuggets. They're up 6 with 2.5 minutes left, up double figures in the fourth quarter, had the 12-point lead in the first half. They played a good game. Nikola Jokic is Nikola Jokic. He's going to do what he's going to do. And some of those issues, those persistent issues that we've seen with the Warriors in crunch time in the fourth quarter offensively, kind of reared their head again down the stretch. But, all things considered, I guess I didn't necessarily know any differently that they would have normally come back to San Francisco, but with how everything was situated, made sense. And all things considered, solid performance in Denver, even with the loss, and now back to San Francisco for 3 and 4 days.
Yeah, and again, the losses are a bummer. I thought the effort was there, though. I thought they were sharp.
For sure.
It's just that the Nuggets have the Warriors number right now. It's 8 in a row, and like you said, man, Nikola Jokic, that dude played 40 minutes and change. He had to. Every time he sat in that game, the Warriors were going on runs, and so Mike Malone had no choice but to exhaust his big bull out there. But you brought up the fact that the Warriors went late in the game with a drought, a dry spell in terms of scoring. And that's been a pattern I've been noticing, man, because it wasn't just the Denver game. I remember seeing it against OKC. I think in the Brooklyn game, they went through a long drought as well. Don't quote me on those games. I just remember this was not the first time. This was I believe the third time in the last 5 or 6 games where late in the fourth quarter, they suddenly go in these gaps where they can't score a single bucket. Are you noticing that as well? And if you are, what do you think is going on there, man? Is it exhaustion? Is it the wrong personnel? Just your thoughts on these late game scoring droughts that I feel like is a huge reason why the Warriors have lost 5 straight.
Well, a couple numbers for you here, Cyrus. Warriors during their 5-game losing streak are 28th in fourth quarter offensive rating, 95.1 points per 100 possessions, ahead of just the Milwaukee Bucks and the Washington Wizards. And overall, last 5 games, their net rating in the fourth quarter, minus 28.5 points per 100 possessions. That's the worst in the NBA. So they're getting handled in these fourth quarters. They're struggling to score, and they're struggling to string together stops for large periods of time. I think it's multifaceted, right? I think the biggest issue or the biggest thing to point to, and there you have some more of the fourth quarter stats.
Yeah.
The biggest thing you can point to in the fourth quarter is just not enough shot creation, on the ball shot creation beyond Steph Curry, right? Teams can skew their defensive schemes. It's not like it's anything new the way Curry's being guarded. You're trapping him, blitzing him, throwing multiple defenders at him, doing everything you can to get the ball out of his hands, making him work. And the Warriors aren't executing their team stuff enough to beat those kinds of defenses late in games. They're not making shots. The ball's not moving the way it needs to. And then beyond that, if you're not doing that, well, then you have to have somebody else that has some little bit of juice with the ball late game. And right now the Warriors it's not like they don't have shot creation, but they need more of it. They need more of it for late in the game, for fourth quarter situations where the defense bogs down, where everything is switching and you're looking at matchups. That's what the fourth quarter of NBA games oftentimes boils down to. And it hasn't been a winning formula. You can force the ball out of Curry's hands. You rotate on the back end. You send it to where you want it to go, and you live with the results. And the results have been 0-5 for the Warriors, these long, kind of prolonged droughts of offense or lack thereof. And lo and behold, a 5-game losing streak. That being said, right, a couple possessions go a little differently. I don't want to beat the cliche to death, but what the Warriors can hang on to and what they are hanging on to a certain degree is make or miss league. Shots go in. Like these games are coming down to the final minute, the final couple of possessions, and the Warriors have been able to build leads on quality teams when they're executing, when they're defending at a high level, when the ball is moving. So, but that to me is the biggest issue in these fourth quarters. There's not enough shot creation beyond Stephen Curry. He's having to do way too much. That's not a position you want to put him in at this stage of his career.
Yeah, and you know, I hear some folks talking about Stephen Curry's struggles this season, and you also just to inform everyone, and you reported this as in one of your columns or stories, I'm sorry, for the San Francisco Chronicle. I think today you reported that for tomorrow's Warriors-Rockets game, both Stephen Curry and Draymond Green are now out. Just to let people know, and I believe you reported that off the NBA's injury report. I'll let you add on to that if you have anything in just a moment. But just to follow up, the YouTube viewers can see this graphic right here if you're listening to the podcast. Just to reiterate what Sam was talking about with these fourth quarter struggles during the losing streak, the Warriors are second to last in the NBA in points per game in the fourth quarter. Their field goal percentage, 38%. Second to dead last in the NBA. Their 3-point field goal percentage, 28%, 24th out of 30 teams in the NBA. And in terms of net rating, the differential, they're getting killed. Dead last in the NBA, just like you said, minus 7.2, meaning they're getting outscored by the opposition by 7.2 points per game the last 5. None of that is good. And clearly, right? I mean, this is just really ugly, bad stuff. Now, you also, and again, I mentioned to folks that they can follow you on Twitter at @BySamGordon. You do phenomenal work, brother, covering the team, both for the San Francisco Chronicle and with the social media content. I mean, I feel like you're the prime example of what social media can be in terms of positive usage to give the audience the best coverage imaginable. And you also posted this sound clip following last night's game, which I want to play now. I'm sorry for talking so much, Sam. I'll give you plenty of time. I promise. Sorry. On last night's show, Larry Kruger and I, we played the soundbite of Steve Kerr criticizing Brandon Pajemski, and I think rightfully so. I mean, Pod's made some huge mistakes late in that game. His shot's clearly been off, but he missed that wide open 3, and then right after that commits a foul on a 3-point shot by Michael Porter Jr., who did miss the free throw, so it wasn't technically a 4-point play, but that's a 6-point swing. That was deadly. I mean, when you talk about momentum, just the numbers themselves, it was brutal. And I think, Sam, I believe you asked Brandon Pajemski this question, and we're going to go to the soundbite right now, and then I'd love to get your feedback after this. But this was Pajemski. Again, did you ask this question? Was this you bringing it up?
No, that was my man Danny Everman, San Jose Mercury News. He started off Brandon Pajemski's press conference asking about Steve Kerr's comments. Great question from Danny. Got a great answer from Brandon.
Awesome. And so here's the clip, and this is courtesy of your Twitter account. Again, @BySamGordon. This was Brandon Pajemski talking, responding to Steve Kerr's criticism of his play, which, again, even as you'll hear yourself, Pajemski would even agree that it's warranted.
I mean, I agree. I played poorly defensively. I think there was a point defensively where I was just kind of pressing too much and trying too hard. I think one of the turnovers I had where I threw it to Trace, I could have bounced it to him earlier. The other one, the Wiggs, just kind of slipped out of my hands when I was throwing it. Like I said, I think I was just trying too hard to defensively just kind of stick with Michael Porter and end up fouling him twice. Definitely not like me, and definitely, something I'm not proud of. And I know, when I kind of made the runs, it was because of me either fouling or turning the ball over. So I know I'm going to be better. I know I'm going to be better. And it just sucks we didn't win.
Sam, I'm guessing you transcribed that. I feel like if you read that on paper, it would sound a million times worse than hearing it. And sorry for the audio levels there. I imagine you would have to crank up your device to hear that. But what it sounded like to me is Pajemski's like he's in his head. What is your response to Pajemski's struggles and that attribution?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think that's part of it. Steve Kerr has talked about, sensing confidence, waving confidence in Pajemski earlier, right? We know about the shooting numbers below 40% from the floor, around 20% from the 3-point line, from somebody who shot 45% from the field last year and almost 40% from deep on 3 or 4 attempts. So not high volume, but not low volume either, right? He was taking the right shots. Everything was in rhythm. And, this year just not producing it at the same level. Kerr's talked about the confidence, kind of coming and going, and Pajemski trying to find it. Draymond Green has talked about Pajemski not doing too much and not putting so much pressure on himself to make all the big plays and to make all the home run plays and whatnot. And then, I think it kind of got to a point. I mean, you touched on it. You saw the game yesterday, the situational basketball mistakes he was making, I think are reflective, right? And of some of the bigger picture issues the Warriors have been experiencing throughout the course of this losing streak. And that's not to say they lost the game just because of Pajemski. Obviously, that's not true. There's a million factors why they lost. His situational mistakes played a part in that, but there were 15 team turnovers that led to 22 points. The defense, I mean, Nikola Jokic did his thing. Those shots don't all have to go in, right? Some games they don't, but he obviously did his number of factors. But all things considered, situational basketball, when you talk about close games, clutch games, you got to execute situationally. And that Brandon Pajemski's mistakes yesterday were the reflection of a lack of situational execution. And you heard and saw the frustration from Steve Kerr, who didn't pull any punches. Let it be known publicly. I'm sure there's been discussions privately, but it's at the point now where Steve Kerr lets it go publicly. He, of course, thinks Brandon Pajemski can handle that kind of criticism publicly, and we'll see if he does or not. But he's a really important part of their team, and that's just the reality of it. They don't have another primary ball handler from the guard spot beyond Stephen Curry. So Pajemski has to handle the ball a lot, and that's, I think, a huge reason why you saw him in the starting lineup. Now Curry's dealing with bilateral knee pains, tendonitis, however you want to term it. It's beneficial for Pajemski to push him off the ball and when they're out there together, when he can handle it. So it's not a million pick and roll. So he's not getting pressed all the way up the floor. You started your question about Curry and Green not playing. I think contextually, to frame this entire thing, their health is the number one priority, right? Seeding, forget about it, right? The seeding doesn't, obviously you want to make the playoffs, but Curry, Green, Andrew Wiggins, obviously Steve Kerr, Gary Payton, Kevon Looney, those guys know what a 100-game season looks like, how to manage the ebbs and flows of a 100-game season. They've done it, Curry, Green, Kerr, several times over. And if they're not healthy and able to go at 100% in April and May, provided they make it, there is no May. If they're not healthy in April, there is no May. So with that being said, knowing that there's going to be some load managing, some managing of these minutes, managing of the workloads, managing them in games. I get the, obviously, I'm sure Steve Kerr wishes Steph could play 40 minutes a night. That's not how it works.
Yeah,
he's got bilateral knee tendonitis. He's going to be 37 in March, and it's about April and May, even if that's at the cost of regular season games. What this is about is ensuring that, hey, maybe you have those comments now publicly with Pajemski now. So in a big game in March, he makes the right play situationally. Heck, a big game tomorrow night, he makes the right play situationally. Curry and Green are going to need support to obviously get through the course of the regular season in order to position the Warriors for the playoffs. And then they're going to need that support in the postseason if there is going to be any magic right left with this particular nucleus and core. So all those things I think are working in concert with one another. That's where you got Kerr's comments from. 5 games, 5 losses in a row isn't helping anything by any means, and you got to turn the page and move forward. So Curry and Green out. Pajemski understands the assignment. He was accepting. I mean, you played the crip. He's accepting of the criticism. There ain't no pushback from him. He knows he has to be better. He sees the statistics like we do. And he's in the locker room and is living it and is having, dealing with the struggles and having to experience those. So he showed what he can do last season. There's still a lot of confidence in him, but he's got to go back to doing the things that made him such a great rookie. That's moving the ball, not looking for his offense, finding his buckets within rhythm, picking his spots, defending, rebounding his position, playing with pace, so on and so forth. They just want him to be him. And when he's able to do that, when he's done that, even the turnovers and the mistakes notwithstanding, the offense is starting to come together. You see him taking smarter shots, getting into his mid-range game a little more, getting to his floater, getting to his finishing package, some footwork stuff that we're seeing under the basket. He needs to stick to who he is as a player. That's what the Warriors' messaging is, and that's why he's so important for what they do. They need him. They're going to need him throughout the course of 82 games, and obviously beyond that, if there's any hope of any kind of playoff run.
Yeah, and Stephen Curry, as you mentioned, him and Draymond Green are both out for tomorrow's game. And honestly, I mean, if anyone out there is expecting these two to push through the pain, forget about it. I mean, that's and look, I mean, these two, they're not going to be around forever. So at a certain point, the team has to start figuring out what the next step is. And I don't mind these games where they sit out. I like seeing what the Warriors come up with and who these backups are as when they're forced to become the alpha dogs. Stephen Curry's production has dipped a little bit this year. To me, look, he's averaging 22.6 points per game, which for him, by his standards, is low. But he's also getting double teamed almost every possession. I mean, that's the one thing that I think needs to be reminded to the audience and to everyone watching these games who's concerned about Steph. He's being doubled almost every possession, and the Warriors are not making other teams pay the price for that. Like, no one else is stepping up. I think a lot of people after last night's game brought up the fact that game symbolized the Warriors in their need for a number two, for Steph to get some help, at least offensively, because DeAnthony Melton was going to be that guy. He's not there now. And that void is becoming more and more glaring. You're behind the scenes, you travel. I know, like, when you publish those practice videos, that you're catching the tail end of the practice. They don't let media see like the actual nitty-gritty stuff. They don't want you going out there reporting to the world, what they're doing. But from the first week of the season to now, are you noticing anything different behind the scenes? Like, is team morale still the same? Like, because the wins are not there, but is the spirit still there? Like, are you seeing any changes behind the scenes with this team? Like, is this still positive? What's your feedback on that?
I mean, there was certainly some happy-go-luckiness kind of early in the year, and certainly coming out of Hawaii and with the hot start. It's not like that, right? They've lost 5 in a row, so that's not the same. But this isn't the morale isn't bad by any means. There's some urgency. There's certainly some frustration. Who wouldn't be frustrated when you're blowing second half leads again? It's again and again and again, double-figure leads in the second half when you can't close games. That's very, very frustrating, and we've seen that. I think you saw that come out through Steve Kerr yesterday throughout the course of his post-game news conference, how impassioned he was. Some of his messaging about taking care of the ball, about valuing possessions, about hitting singles. All these things are things that the Warriors, this is a team, and they knew this going in, right? Second, up against the first apron, didn't have big money to spend in free agency. Trades didn't work out the way they wanted them to go. This season was going to be predicated on maximizing the margins. What maximizing the margins means for this group, at least what it meant, early on, was defending for 48 minutes. For the most part, that's persisted, right? There's, of course, been lulls, but they're still fourth in the NBA in defense. That is huge. That is absolutely huge. It's why they gave themselves a chance to win that Thunder game last week. It's why they've given themselves a chance to win a lot of these games when the offense stalls. I thought even yesterday, Jokic, of course, took over down the stretch, but they were throwing well-timed doubles at him. They were scrambling and rotating. They were really – Jamal Murray was, I think, with 4 of 13. They're a really good team. They're going to score. They're going to make shots. Jokic is going to do what he does. But the point is that the defensive execution, for the most part, right? It's been 20 games, not every night, but for the most part, it's been there. This team is fourth defensively. So that's an absolute baseline, no matter what. But the other margins, free throw shooting, turnovers, taking care of the ball, generating quality three-point shots with pace and whatnot. So you're not always playing out of half-court sets against set defenses, right? They were really good at maximizing things with the margins early on, and now they're not. Now that's where they've fallen off and where they got to get sharper. So with all that being said, that's why the morale hasn't completely tanked, because they're not getting blown out. They're not. Exactly. In fact, they are leading these games by double figures in key spots. So the morale is still intact. Yes, there's frustration. Yes, there's urgency. But this is a veteran group led by 4-time champions, supported by other guys that have played at the championship level and contributed to championships that understand this is a 100, they want this to be a 100-game season. They're through game 20. So a lot of work to go, a lot of things that they got to make happen. And you're certainly right about a lack of a second creator, but it's a long season, and the trade deadline isn't until February. Let's see what happens these next few games. Let's see, to your point, how things look without Curry and Green out there. I'm with you. Huge developmental opportunities for some of their younger players. Huge to get an overall look at what you have before you go into the any kind of intensive trade talks, and then we'll see from there. So, morale still intact, even though the 12-3 start isn't.
Well, I imagine Dub Nation, myself included, love hearing that, because if you had answered differently, I think then some panic buttons might be pressed. So it's a relief. And like you said, they're fighting in these games. They're not throwing in the towel early. It's just these dry spells in late in the fourth quarter. It's glaring, and it's happening on a repeated basis. Brandon Pajemski has been a focus. We've already talked about him, but my final question pertaining to Pods, Jordan Poole in year 2 was struggling. They sent him to Santa Cruz. It made a huge difference. He came back a whole different player, and that led to the third-year Jordan Poole, which was a pivotal player for the championship. You look at Moses Moody, year 2, sent to Santa Cruz, and we saw a difference there. Kuminga got some time in Santa Cruz as well. This is year 2 for Pajemski. Are there any discussions of sending him to Santa Cruz? Because it does seem like he could use a less pressure situation, a more free-flowing environment where wins and losses, or the pressure of that is not so heavy. Have you heard anything about Santa Cruz and Pajemski maybe going there on assignment? What are your thoughts about that idea?
I haven't heard anything about it, and I don't think they can afford to let him go down there. I mean, who else is going to handle the ball? Who's going to handle that? That's why he's so important for this team, is because his skill set is one that they don't really have elsewhere, right? A guard that can handle the ball and generate some pace when he has it. That's why you can't throw away possessions like that. That's why Kerr has to be able to trust him out there, because when he's at his best, and we've all seen him at his best, we know what it looks like. You can push Curry off the ball. He can create extra chances with rebounds. He runs the floor. He can draw a charge. He keeps possessions alive as a connector. You saw about a month ago in Houston some late game shot making, some late game shot creation. So I hear what you're saying. Could he stand to benefit from some big games at the G League level from a confidence perspective? I'm sure he could, but Curry's not. Curry has a bilateral knee issue. They're short on ball handling, and these are reps that he's going to have to get, and a slump that he's going to have to kind of work his way out of organically. And there is faith internally from Kerr, from his teammates, that can happen, even if it hasn't yet. You're seeing, again, the last 3 games, 3 double-figure scoring games. As a starter this year, he's averaging something like 13, 5, and 5. That plays. That's solid. That works if you're getting execution around him, if you're getting great team defense and great ball movement and shot making around him. That'll play on nights when Curry doesn't. So, we'll see what happens. It's certainly not the start to the season he wanted, but there is confidence and belief that he can turn it around. If there wasn't, I don't think Kerr would have bothered, addressing him like that. That's tough love. But at the end of the day, it's love, right? It is love. That came from a place of love.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I don't think anyone's implying otherwise. It was a tough love type speech, and I think it was needed. And you do bring up a great point that you could argue that the Warriors going into tomorrow night's game against the Rockets will be missing their 3 most important ball handlers, meaning Steph's out, Draymond, who plays that point as well as anybody's out, and then they obviously lost Anthony Melton for the year. So a position that I feel like at the start of the season looked really deep, did not seem like a concern, is now very thin. And it looks like what is Pajemski and Pat Spencer? Are those pretty much your only two natural point guards at the moment? I know Kyle Anderson can handle that role a little bit too.
Kyle Anderson can handle too. But yeah, that's what you're looking at in terms of ball handlers. So it'll be interesting to see how things shake out tomorrow. Houston, one of the best defensive teams in the league, long wings that can play pressure defense and switch and make basketball and situational basketball and executing really complicated for obviously entire offenses, but guards, right? They have the person they can play pressure defense on Pajemski for 48 minutes tomorrow if they want to with their personnel. So it'll be certainly a really interesting matchup for him and for the Warriors without Curry and Green. That being said, hey, they went into Houston and without Melton, sure they had Draymond, but without Melton and without Curry at the beginning of the month, we're up by 30 at halftime when everything was clicking, when they were playing with pace, when the ball was popping, and when they were defending at an elite level. So, hey, anything can happen. We'll see how it goes tomorrow.
Yeah, man, these are crazy times for the Golden State Warriors, no doubt about that. A 5-game losing streak will raise a lot of eyebrows. In your opinion, and this is strictly a subjective question and answer for you, Sam, are you worried about this team? Because, they started the season, 11-3? Was that their high point?
12-3, 10-2, 12-3.
10-2, 12-3. Okay, yeah, there you go. And now they're sitting at 12-8. In danger of even a bigger slide because, like you said, this is the toughest part of the year for their schedule, leading up to a Christmas Day game with the Lakers, which not too long ago I thought that was going to be the biggest test of the season for the Warriors. Now they've got tests every night. How quickly things change. But your opinion on things, man, like you personally, your thoughts, like, are you worried? You're around the team every day. You see them all the time. Like the team that was 12-3, that's now 12-8. Does that concern you, or is this just part of a long season? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, they certainly missed D'Anthony Melton, right? There's no question about that. It's not the end all be all per se. You got to be able to work around injuries to certain players at certain positions, and they are a relatively deep team with quality rotation players. But you kind of touched on it. There's no denying what he brought to the table. He was a connective ball handler that could space the floor, knock down a jumper. He could attack a closeout. He could lead a break. And he was a linchpin, defensively too. And there's I think kind of a domino effect. He gives you another on-ball defender, which means you can feature Andrew Wiggins a little bit more offensively, right? It doesn't have to be 35 minutes opposite the best opposing guard or wing or a combination of both, while also being asked to score 15 to 20 points a game, right? That's a big responsibility, being the number one primary point of attack defender and also being called upon to score. So they were kind of sharing that role. There was, as a result, everybody's asked to do more. Well, since D'Anthony Melton's been out, the Warriors are 3-6 and they have the 27th ranked offense. So yeah. they're feeling his absence. In terms of your overall question, we knew going in that there are teams that are more talented than them, right? In both the Western and the Eastern conferences that have more high-end, top-end superstar talent. And ultimately, that's kind of what drives championships. I think throughout the course of the strong start, you saw the very best at what this team can be. And there's still, I think, a lot of things to like. They still are deep with versatile defenders. You still have Stephen Curry and Draymond Green. When they have been out there, they've played really well. You mentioned Curry's numbers being down, Draymond's too, of course, but consider where they're at in their career and what the team needs from them. They've played really, really well. You still have them. You still have Andrew Wiggins, who's in the midst of a spectacular season. And what you still have is, it's not just the Warriors who are in for tough games every night in the West. That's the whole Western Conference. So the way that the standings are stacked up right now, where it's a bunch of teams separated by a game or two, the Warriors just have to make the playoffs. That's what their focus is on. And I think even with this losing streak, even though all the problems are really glaring right now and they seem so conspicuous, I still look at this as a playoff team. And, we'll see what these next couple months look like if they get active in terms of trade conversations, or if Jonathan Kuminga continues to show what he showed last night and continues that evolution as a creator that can play within the structure of Steve Kerr's read and react offense, or lack thereof in terms of structure, right? However you want to term it. I thought he was really impressive with some of, the scoring is what it is. It was the connective passing, and not just the connective passing, some of the advanced passing that he was making. He was making reads that were putting his teammates in positions to beat the defense, and that ensured for really good ball movement. Can he continue to develop in that regard? What do you have over these next few weeks? How are these next couple months shape up as you canvass the potential trade market and see what might be available for a prospective trade? As far as trades are concerned, it takes two to tango. Another team is going to have to want what the Warriors have in terms of expiring contracts, some of their draft capital and whatnot, and the Warriors are going to have to, they're going to have to want to part ways with a player that the Warriors are obviously going to think can make them better and help them. And trades are, it might sound cliche, but trades are complicated. Finding trades that make sense for both sides, it's not easy to do. So I think, it's an 82-game season. They're 12-8. They're right here in the thick of things in the West. They have a plan to, or so it would seem, to manage the workloads for their star players, and they have. It's kind of trial by fire for everybody else at this point, in terms of developing and getting the reps that they need and seeing how they can fit in around Curry and Green when they're healthy. So it's a key stretch. We'll see how they respond, but it's an 82-game season, and that's how the Warriors are looking at this because of the age and the health of their stars. They are looking at 82 games. How can they be at their best over the course of an 82-game season, not necessarily a week stretch in December, even though they want to snap the skid?
I'm really glad Maximo brought this up, because you mentioned Kuminga, and I wanted to talk about him here. I'll also see the clock. I promise we'll wrap this up soon here.
We're all good.
I promise, Sam.
All good. All good.
We're
in a groove. If you want to keep going, we can keep going. Whatever you got.
Oh man, you got a life, dude. It's all good. Maximo wrote, and he highlighted this because, and I'm sorry, I'm showing this because I was thinking about this while you brought up Kuminga, and it just tears me apart inside that in that final stretch, Jamal Murray just dipped into a fountain of youth and came up with the luckiest block imaginable. I don't know how he got that block on Kuminga. It was clean, unfortunately. And then Jokic also got a block on Kuminga. Those are such, I don't know. To me, those are just insanely perfectly timed moments that normally do not happen. And that really bummed me out. And Maximus bringing that up. But when we talk about Kuminga, and I agree, I thought he played fantastic last night. There was one particular play where he swung, the ball was moving all around. He was a huge part of it. And he whipped this left-handed, one-handed pass to Steph when he could have easily attacked himself or taken the shot, but he saw Steph curling around on the baseline and found him at the perfect spot. Steph drained it. That was my favorite play of the season. It was beautiful. For sure. I was seeing, I know exactly what you're talking about. What I'm seeing with this Warriors team in terms of what seems to be the fundamental issue, and I don't know if you were on the beat last year when Stephen Curry said this, but a year ago, early in the season or somewhere around the first third of the season, Steph was talking about the team struggling to find their identity. And he's not saying that this year, but I feel like this year it's even more glaring. And, you can the term identity is subjective. It's obviously different people have a different definition of what that means specifically. To me, the identity of a basketball team is who they're finishing with, who that closing five is. And the Warriors, I thought, had something really good going early in the season where they had that identity. They had a closing five, and you think back to the Warriors dynasty in general, that death lineup is what was winning championships, right? You could talk about the fancy offense. You could talk about all the three-point shots, but that death lineup brought them chips, and it was unstoppable. It was a force, and that was primarily the identity. And you look at the identity of this team early in the season, the first third, when DeAnthony Melton was playing, I thought they figured it out. It was Steph, Melton, Wiggins, Kuminga, Dre. That five was keeping up with anybody. And then Melton obviously got hurt, which sucked. And then Buddy Hield has cooled off a lot. I don't know if you've noticed that as well. Like those flurries are not there anymore. But the Kuminga piece of it is what's most baffling. I dedicated an entire show where we look back the previous 7 games. We started looking back with the Mavericks game. And Kuminga was finishing games routinely. The Warriors were winning routinely. And then for an inexplicable reason, Kerr just stopped closing games with Kuminga. Like, I don't know what Kuminga... I guess what I'm trying to ask here is, do you think Kuminga will ever earn the full trust of Steve Kerr? Because even in a game like last night, where you and I saw a great player, he still couldn't crack 30 minutes. He got 28. And it's like, I don't understand what he has to do for Kerr to realize that this guy has to play for them to be successful. But Steve Kerr sure struggles giving Kuminga consistent minutes. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's the little things. I think it's what we saw. It's seeing more of what we saw yesterday, which is connective, advanced passing. It's passing up good shots so the team can get great shots, and it's defending with intensity, focus, and within a team structure. If he does those things, if he does those things on a nightly basis, with where things are at right now, he'll be a 30 to 35 minute a game guy. He's one of the guys I think that you kind of have to, in the next couple months, figure out what you have.
Yes.
Right? You have to figure that out as the trade deadline approaches. But if he plays how he does yesterday, that goes a long way. And again, it's they know about the force to the basket. They value there's an immense value for what he does in the open court, for the way he can bend and manipulate a defense when he drives with power and effectively. It's about the counters that he develops when those are taken away. It's about playing through possessions, 24-second long possessions, executing down the stretch. Execution seems like such a cliche word, but the Warriors have really used it a ton, and I kind of get what they mean. It's trusting that they're passing, they're cutting, they're screening for 24 seconds for really long, extensive playoff kind of like possessions. Obviously, you don't want to have to do that every single night. You like to be able to give the ball to a couple guys and just go get a bucket. But the Warriors are working within the margins. This is the way that the team is structured. This is the way the team is built. So I think, games like last night are going to go a long way into continuing to, obviously earn Kerr's trust and then build Kuminga's confidence too. There's no doubt that he was certainly, pleased with the opportunity that he had yesterday. And when you score and you're getting these long stretches and minutes, it helps defensively too. It helps with the two-way focus for him. So, yeah, there's upside there that we've seen flashes, but there's another level that he can get to in games like yesterday when he's playing within the rhythm, the flow, and the structure of the offense. Give confidence that, hey, that it can happen, and it can happen sooner rather than later. Maybe it does, maybe I don't know, right? That's on him, but to put together, but it could happen. And yesterday you saw what it looked like when it was actualized within the rhythm of the ball movement in the system.
Totally. And again, when it comes to Kuminga, I just don't know how he's ever going to fulfill that potential if he's not getting a decent run out there. I brought up the fact that Jason Tatum in his career has never averaged below 30 minutes a game, even though his first 2 years in the league, he was putting up 13 and 15 points per game. Stephen Curry, his rookie year, averaged 36 minutes a game. These players will never develop if they're getting 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Moses Moody's another example. Patrick O'Quinn, mentioning in the chat, good to see you, Patrick, that Moses Moody's another player who just inexplicably will play 2 minutes in a game after, right after having like a 15-point half. Stephen Curry even brought that up, and I'm really appreciative of him for doing so. But I guess my point is, here's what I'm noticing, and we'll finish up here, Sam. Yep. The pattern I'm seeing here over the last 2+ years now is when Kuminga's in the game at the end to close the night, the Warriors are successful. Every time the Warriors are mired in a situation where they're losing games that they shouldn't be losing, they're having slumps, Kuminga's not finishing games. There is a pattern there that I'm seeing time and time and again. And like you said, I do think this should be the year where the team decides ultimately, are we going to commit to this kid and just give him our full trust and live with the mistakes, but in the process, giving him the minutes he needs to fully develop? Or if Kerr's never going to trust him, trade him while his value is still there, because at a certain point, that value is going to start dipping, and you don't want to wait until that point, right?
Well, I want to, it's interesting you bring that up about him not closing. I think it's worth noting the Spurs game and the Nets game, I believe, too, right? He didn't play. He was sick. They missed him, right? They missed him. There's no doubt about it. The Spurs game was the third game in 4 nights. It's a long, athletic defense. You got Wemby under the basket. You have Stephon Castle and some of their wings, all over Steph playing his third game in 4 nights. Kuminga's force, his power, right? Even if it's not as refined, even if the refinement isn't necessarily there offensively, his force and power demand attention, and they demand defensive respect. So, but ultimately, it's about the other things. It's about playing within the system, moving the ball, and then defending at a high level. If he does those things on a nightly basis, he will. I think he will close more often than not as everything starts to steady here, and as Kerr and the Warriors try and find groupings that they like. That was part of the discussion post game coming out of Phoenix, is really honing in on combinations, maybe trimming the 12-man rotation that was 13 that night, trimming that back to something a little bit more conventional. That doesn't mean there's not going to be opportunities later in the season. There's always injuries. Guys are going to play. They're going to have to stay ready. But something a little bit more consistent in terms of expectation. And last point I want to make about Kuminga and Moody. Most guys that are picked in the lottery don't join championship aspirational teams.
That is fair. You're absolutely right.
They just don't. And those guys are getting the opportunity to have the ball in their hands. It's a really, really unique and nuanced situation that they were placed in a delicate one too. So, the Warriors, the veterans, the champions, they want to win, and these young players want to play and do their thing. It's a tough needle to thread. It really is. And obviously everybody's doing the best they can to try and make everything work. Steve Kerr, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, so on and so forth. But yeah, you don't normally see that. You see lottery picks go to teams that struggle. And these two came into an established team that won the title their rookie year.
Yep. And I here's one thing I think is indisputable, Sam. It's interesting. This ain't boring stuff. The Warriors will always leave you with interest. Like they're not boring you, that's for sure. And yet another interesting start to the season. Sam, what do you want to plug, brother? You're publishing pretty much daily content for the San Francisco Chronicle. People can follow you on Twitter at @BySamGordon. I can't thank you enough for joining us. As always, you're incredible, brother. And I think the chat is reflecting that. Nick Fensky giving you the love as you deserve. Anything you want to promote besides what I just mentioned, brother?
No, Cyrus, you're good. I appreciate you having me on the show. Appreciate all the comments and the interactive, discussion and whatnot. And yeah, I'm on Twitter at @BySamGordon. The Golden State Valkyries have their expansion draft on Friday. So I'm really excited about that. Can't wait till the W's here, and may or may not have a Warriors related angle dropping later this week. But yeah,
look at that.
Yeah,
nice,
but I'll be
there. I like that.
Yeah, I'm working at it. I'm trying to learn, but I'll be out at Chase Center these next few days, and we'll see how things happen, and how if this losing streak ends or if it continues. But until next time, Cyrus, very much appreciate you.
Oh, and, absolutely, brother. And just to piggyback off the Valkyries discussion, Sophia Jones joins the program every Monday, and next Monday she will break down the Valkyries expansion draft in detail. And as you mentioned, beautiful tease there. You might have something cooking as well with the San Francisco Chronicle. And for folks out there, all you got to do is go on Twitter and follow Sam there at @BySamGordon. That remains your exclusive platform. Is that correct? That you're only on Twitter, X, whatever people are calling it?
I do have a Blue Sky.
Okay.
It's just mine. It's just Sam Gordon. Just how, and then whatever the attachment is. I haven't posted on there yet, just because I spent years on Twitter, and the idea of doing that again on a new platform, even though I know there is a community, a Warriors community, an NBA community, a lot of other talented journalists and so on and so forth that are active on there. I just haven't started yet. Hopefully I will down the line. I don't know. We'll see. But I do have the account. So if anybody wants to, follow in case I start dropping stuff on there, that's where I'll be. But other than that, it's just my Twitter, no Instagram. Just Twitter at @BySamGordon.
I love it. Yeah, for me, 2 social media platforms is enough. I'm on Threads. I'm on Twitter again. Because even 2 is too much, dude. Like, I don't know how people are doing 3 if they're having all 3. But yeah, for the Blue Sky folks, if you're on there, now we're giving them love as well. Sam Gordon is available just by his name. No BY in there. It's just at Sam Gordon or .bluesky. Whatever. It's got a weird handle. But Sam, thank you, brother. This was fun. Always a pleasure. What part of the Bay Area are you in right now? I mean, because you're a transplant. Where in the Bay have you picked as home that you're joining us from right now?
I am in San Francisco.
What neighborhood?
Yep, I'm in the city. I am in by the Cow Palace.
Oh, okay. All right. I like it.
Do
you like it? Are you happy there?
Yeah, I love it here. The Bay is
Good.
spectacular. It's enchanting. It's mystical. it's singular, right? There are cities that feel like other cities, and then there's ones that feel singular. And I lived in Vegas before. That's another singular city. Very fortunate Now I live in another, the Bay Area, San Francisco, Oakland. It's incredible here. So I'm loving it. I'm having a blast. And again, I appreciate you having me on the show.
And Sam, you're not going anywhere. You and I are going to be doing this for the next 15 years. That's my commitment to the audience. So you're going to see us age. What are you going to look like? Are you going to get some grays in the hair? You're going to start 15 years from now, will your beard look like mine?
I'm ready. When it does, I'll be 110% ready for it. Yep.
I love it, brother. Thank you. And again, one more time, folks, follow Sam on Twitter at @BySamGordon. He's on Blue Sky at Sam Gordon. And obviously subscribe to the San Francisco Chronicle. Legacy Media is delivering, folks. So it's cheap. The subscriptions are not expensive for some quality content. Sam, thank you. Thank you to everyone. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.